I got it right.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. Oh, this isn't a sign.
And it's on, girl. Don't say no, 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 no. Just say yeah, 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 yeah. And we'll go, 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 go. If you're ready, like I'm ready, 'cause it's a beautiful night. Hey, baby, I think I wanna marry you. Is it the look in your eyes, or is it this dancing juice? Who cares, baby? I think I wanna marry you. Oh, I'll go get a ring, let the choir bells sing like ooh. So what you wanna do? Let's just run, girl. If we wake up and you wanna break up, that's cool. No, I won't blame you. It was fun, girl. Don't say no, 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 no. Just say yeah, 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 yeah. And we'll go, 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 go. If you're ready, like I'm ready, 'cause it's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby, I think I wanna marry you. Is it the look in your eyes, or is it this dancing juice? Who cares, baby? I think I wanna marry you. Just say I do. Tell me right now, baby. Tell me right now, baby. Baby, just say I do. Tell me right now, baby. Tell me right now, baby, baby. Oh, it's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby, I think I wanna marry you. Is it the look in your eyes, or is it this dancing juice? Who cares, baby? I think I wanna marry you.
I will speak on their behalf initially to tell you how much this means to them that you are all here, every single last one of you, friends, family. They're so delighted that it can happen, and they welcome you, and they're so happy that you're celebrating with them their 40th anniversary and their renewal vows, and they've given me the honor of, being up here to traffic that along. I think in preparing for this, I got to know so many different stories that I reached out to former classmates, and I learned so much, and I remembered a lot. And so I'm going to share with you some of the memories, and I call it Debbie and Paul's story of us. In the first grade, Debbie and Paul in those days, Gilroy, they sat one behind the other. And Paul has told me often, he fell in love with her in the first grade, if it's possible for a little boy. And he never, ever had eyes for anyone else, ever. And he waited, and he waited, and he waited until she went through, you know, her different experiences. But he was determined, if nothing else. He was determined, and he waited. I remember a couple of us were talking about the old days in high school theater, and we remembered they were in a play together, Don't Drink the Water by Woody Allen, and they were the funniest, physically, their comedy, you know, second to none. Paul's physical comedy was just hysterical, and we were preparing that night. I was doing something, you know, to prepare for the play that I wasn't in, as usual, but I was in the background. So I saw Paul, and he was standing by himself, and Debbie was doing something, you know, fixing herself or whatever. I walked by, and I heard him saying, I was behind him, and he said, I love her so much. And it just took my breath away, and I suspected it, but then I knew. He madly in love from that day, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited, and that's the beginning of their story of us. You all know that I think Paul lives to see this woman smile. I asked Paul what it is like for him, how that never diminished, and he teasingly said back to me, he said, well, you know, Dr. Phil said, if the mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. But the glint in his eye told me it's his joy. That's his joy. I've asked Debbie a few questions, and in turn she has said, Joycey, he saved me. Paul saved me. I would never have known this life. I would never have come close to this life. He saved me. So it's this incredible bonded relationship that I think we've all watched and been inspired by, and it is a joy to see them connect and just be able to celebrate with this incredible, incredible evening on 39 Todd Street. Our Paul never refers to it as my home, come on over for games night. Come on over to 39 Todd Street. We've had some of the best talent in the kitchen singing, he says, on 39 Todd Street. We all know where they live, right? But I know you'll all agree that when you see devotion and loyalty and you see the real thing, and you know, a lot of you here share some beautiful relationships, and it's my pleasure to speak to it. So when I spoke to Debbie and Paul individually, and I learned a lot, even after 40 years, I've learned that there are a few questions and observations that remain, you know, and so I just wanted to share because they're too emotional, so I'm going to speak on their behalf. Paul, you said you're absolutely, without a doubt, certain that Debbie will always be there for you and will pick you up when you fall. After she collects herself, after convulsing and laughing, she will pick you up. And you said you know that. And Paul, I learned from Debbie that she marvels at everything that you do and how busy you are and how being busy is essential. She told me it's actually essential in your life. And she said he has to have multiple projects going. He has to be busy all the time. And so she wanted to know, because you like so many projects and you like to be busy, when the hell are you going to finish the master bath? And Debbie, Paul shared with me, he said he fell in love with you because you were always the girl who always wanted fun and adventure and to be on the go, go, go. And he says, you still do. All the time. 365 days a year, 7 days a week. And after all these years, he has one loving question to ask you. He asks, are we really only halfway down your bucket list? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? How many pages is that thing, Debbie? Oh, Paul. So, but seriously, here is a couple who 40 years ago, the teenagers, the young teenagers that they were, chose a very difficult path that teenagers today, you don't think of making these kinds of adult decisions. Here they were, 19, they just got married, and with the most beautiful little blonde boy in tow, the most beautiful baby, Patrick, that I have ever laid my eyes on. They set out with him in tow on a big adventure. Paul to the Air Force, and what an adventure it was. Two 19-year-olds with not much more, believe me, from what I hear, not much more than a few dollars in their pocket, traveled to parts previously unknown, a rented apartment in Virginia. Over 10 miles each way, Paul would ride a dilapidated bicycle to get to and from the Air Force where he was stationed. It didn't matter what the weather was, there was no car. These were decisions a 19-year-old was making to support a child that he adored and a wife that he was devoted to. And Debbie, the stories that I've heard, I don't know how, but somehow she was able to get a hot meal on that table, if only, and there were many times, when it was a can of chicken soup over rice, right? That's true. And from those meager, meager times, here now to 39 Todd Street, where Paul built the second floor. Every bit of that house is them. They hope someday to give it to one of their other beautiful, handsome young men, Evan, right? So they've built this. It's not just the house that they built, it's the home that they live in that has welcomed all of us. I truly feel at home here. I truly love coming here and just being with them. They don't have to say anything. I just love being here with them. When you come to Todd Street, 39 Todd Street, where friends, family, and neighbors have gathered over and again, you will be warmly met by Paul's great big laugh. You'll get a big hug and your fanny pinched by the very wickedly funny and mischievous Deborah, if she's not photobombing your pictures, right? So, but when you come here, they truly mean it. Whatever you'd like, open the refrigerator and get whatever you want. Pull out whatever you want to eat from the refrigerator. The generosity has always blown me away. And I think most of us would agree with that. They throw holiday parties, they throw graduation parties, they throw anniversary parties. There's always a party to be thrown that they lovingly do. It doesn't really matter what is going on in their life. They will turn around and do that in the midst of whatever life is throwing at them at any given time, because they do want the fun. They love to fill their house up with their family, with their friends. And this is what's given them, I think, all of the memories that matter to any of us. These are the memories that matter. Every corner of this yard, from the backyard shows, the graduation parties, everywhere you look in this house, there's photographs, there's albums of incredible memories. To you, Paul, I ask you, I hope the adventure continues with your beautiful, blonde-haired, fair first grader. I hope the party continues. And now I have to ask, Paul, willingly and lovingly, do you recommit all that you are in body, in mind, and soul to your Debbie doll?
I do.
And do you, Debbie doll, lovingly and without hesitation, recommit all that you are in body, mind, and soul to your Weezer. Always. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the renewed, improved, and lemon-scented Mr. and Mrs. Gilroy. Of their beautiful sons, their handsome boys, is there any of those magnificent young men that cared to say something? Please come up and say something now or later or when you're comfortable to do so. Oh, I see my daughter's teacher standing. Voted online by the kids, the favorite teacher at LaSalle. True.
There's no way I'm making it through this, just so you know.
You can do it.
Most people have reasons to complain about their parents. That they're too overbearing, or weren't around enough, or never listen.
So you can't even get through it. Come on.
I don't think that my brothers and I can say any of those things. Our parents are loving, kind, and patient people. My closest friends do not look at them as Evan's parents. They refer to them as mother and father. And this is not a joke. This is because they genuinely enjoy my parents' company. They know that my parents are interested in their lives and care about them. Even when there was singing and dancing in the living room, my friends made sure to go through the front door and greet my parents. And my parents would be just as genuinely happy to see them. Mother and father provide a place where people want to be. Mom and Dad, you created a home. Goodness gracious.
39 Todd Street.
Mom and Dad, you created a home that any person would be blessed to grow up in. You made sure there was always someone home. Mother, you would pick Dane and I up from school and ask us what we learned about that day. You made sure that we were doing the best work we could. When Dane and I were kids, my father had an exhausting commute. We didn't get to see him all day, so coming home each night was an event. We were always excited to hug Dad as soon as he walked through the door. Mom would serve dinner, and Dad would give us our nightly baths and read us a bedtime story. This was a home filled with love, straight out of a movie. Both of you have always been incredibly encouraging. You encouraged us to play sports that we wanted. Neither of you are sports people, but you were always at our games cheering us on. You took footage of Patrick's football games. It made you cringe every time Dane bashed someone with a lacrosse stick, but you still went and clapped. You let us turn your basement into a jam space whenever we wanted. Chase's music has a very specific and narrow audience, but you still would go see him perform and cheer for him. You encouraged us to follow our passions. Music and performing have been a huge part of your life, but you accidentally made it an important part of our lives. You definitely passed down your music talent to us boys, but it was seeing you laughing, singing, and dancing every Friday night that inadvertently encouraged us to be players and performers. It gave us a sense of culture that few of my friends experienced. Few kids would have been as excited as we were to go see a stage performance of Little Shop of Horrors. While watching The Muppet Show a few years ago, there were many episodes that my friend Gabriel would turn to me with a disgusted look and say, "Why the hell do you know the words to this song?" In his eyes, a 30-year-old man should not know the words to Vilkomen from Cabaret. It wasn't until recently that I realized why I wanted to be in a band so badly. It wasn't for fame, and it wasn't to land hot chicks. It was to feel the same sense of camaraderie and joy that we saw you having. You both made conscious efforts to create memories for all of us. The vacations to Maine and New Hampshire each summer are some of the best times of my life. Goodness, Lordy Lou. Dad, watching you do the Papoose Pond dance after winning a round of Titanic never got old. You took us through every state on the East Coast. Mother, you made sure that we had the optimal Disney World experience every single time we went. You both gave us good times that will forever be treasured. This is the rough part. Goodness. Mom, you have been a person that has always been there for us. You were there before and after school to get us up and help us with our homework. You were always the one to nurse us back to health, from little colds to broken bones. You are our own personal WebMD, which made it far more difficult to fake a sickness and get out of school. You are a smart, loving, kind-hearted woman, the kind of woman that every single person here is lucky to even have met. Dad, you are the man that I have strived to become my entire life. You have always modeled what it means to be a good man.
Say it with love. It'll make it easier.
You have always shown me how important it is to be who you are and not worry about what other people think. You put your family before everything, before your wants, your needs, or happiness. When Brent was born, Kevin told me that he once hoped that he would be as good a father as you are to us. People meet you once and know you're a good person.
My goodness gracious.
Since we were kids, my mother always told me how much my father used to proclaim to his best friends that he knew he would marry Debi Gilmartin one day. 40 years ago, he made that wish come true. And from that day forward, he has loved my mother with every fiber of his being. You typically hear people say that the magic fades as the years go on. I truly believe that this has not and will not happen to my parents. They still look at each other with loving glances. They still go on vacations with just the two of them. They still hold hands. They truly enjoy each other's company. And I know this will stay the truth when they are old, wrinkly sacks. We love you, Mom and Dad. Happy anniversary, and thank you for being the amazing people that you are.
Thank you, everybody. This was really wonderful.
I know it.
You are. I know. I can say it, but you know what I'm saying. It was awesome.
My job is done. I must leave. You're a pain in the ass. I'm in. I'm
Too late for that.